Up until this year, I would never have considered myself a healthy person. Health is just not something that I've ever really valued or prioritized in my life. It was something that I heard about from my parents growing up, something that really only became a focus for me if I was feeling sick or actively unhealthy. This year, everything has changed. Whether you interpret health as something that's physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, I've really done a 180 in all of those areas this year, and I can genuinely tell you I have never been in such a healthy spot in my life or so aware and in touch with myself and what's going on inside my body and my mind. I told you guys recently I really feel like I'm entering my wellness era, and so it felt only appropriate that I make a video on the healthy habits that have changed my life. And I do want to preface this by saying, this is a popular video format. This is a list of things that I haven't really heard a lot of people talk about. I've posted other videos where I've given out kind of generic advice, like, yeah, drink more water, more sleep. But these are the actual changes that I've implemented that have really transformed the way that I feel physically and emotionally. And I am just so excited to share this with you. I wish I could give this list to myself a year ago, because if you watch my videos, you may know I had a really hard few months mentally and I was just going through it. And I wish that I had known how powerful these tools and resources were. Going through that is really what led me to this and to recognizing the impact that all of these would have on my life. I need to say a disclaimer, because I'm not telling you, if you're watching this, that you need to make all the decisions that I've made. You need to cut out what I've cut out. You need to add in what I've added in. But I will also say that every one of these changes is something that I have put research into, that I have put a lot of thought and energy and time into figuring out what's the healthiest way to do this, what's the best way to support myself, and these are really what I've found to be effective. The first healthy habit that has changed my life: cutting out alcohol. In January of this year, I decided to cut way back on my alcohol intake. I've never been a heavy drinker, but towards the end of last year, I just found that I was consuming a lot more in social settings and I just wasn't feeling great overall. So I went cold turkey for a while, and then I kind of slowly reintroduced it. And ultimately, I have come to the conclusion that alcohol doesn't add anything to my life. More than that, it actively takes away. I have a really low tolerance. And so if I have one drink on an empty stomach or two drinks on a full stomach, I am feeling it. I don't have any wild stories. I've never done anything crazy, but I do just find that I'm not the best version of myself. This last weekend, I had a little bit more to drink than I'd had in quite a while, and I had a moment where I just realized, like, I am not acting in a way that I'm proud of. I was saying things that I would normally say, but in a way where I wasn't communicating effectively, and I didn't feel like I was representing myself well. I hate that feeling. I've actually made the decision to cut out alcohol entirely. I'm going to a bachelorette party this weekend, so I'll probably wait until after that. I don't like alcohol. I don't like its influence in my life, and I really just have no desire to keep it around. It doesn't align with the health goals I'm trying to build. You can make a different choice. I'm not trying to shame anybody. This is just my personal decision, and I'm really content with it. Okay, the second healthy habit that has changed my life so much is going to bed early and not apologizing for it. I am a morning person through and through, but I haven't really felt like it in a number of years because I've been staying up late for years. So when I wake up in the morning, I'm always exhausted. I think for me, staying up late came down to social situations, societal expectations, and really a need to recharge on my own before I went to sleep. COVID really taught me that I'm not as extroverted as I thought I was. And I think for a lot of years, I've really craved and needed that time right before bed to watch a TV show, read a book, and just like really be with myself, because I wasn't giving myself that time or space during the day. That was my only chance to be alone. When I got home or got back at 9 o'clock, I would take 2-3 hours to just really do my own thing. The whole idea of an 8-hour sleep schedule is really not an accurate depiction of most humans. Some people can survive on 4 or 5 hours of sleep and they are fine. I am not those people. I am a 9 hours or nothing kind of girl. If I don't get a good long sleep, I can tell. This year, I started going to bed at 9:30, turn all the lights off, and usually read for about half an hour and then be asleep shortly after 10. The hardest part of this for me has been getting over the FOMO and the fear of like, oh my gosh, what if all my friends are doing something, or like I am the crazy chick that's going to bed at 9 o'clock. But I think being new to Ottawa was really helpful for that, because people didn't have a lot of expectations for me. I didn't have a lot of friends that allowed me to show up in the way that I want and be the person who leaves early and goes to bed at 9. And there are days where I definitely don't love that, or where I might miss out on a couple moments, but I wake up the next morning feeling so refreshed, so energized, and like I can actually show up as the best version of myself. There are times where I stay out later. I will sacrifice that in order to be present at a certain event or for a friend or whatever it is. But as as a general rule, I've become very protective over my sleep, and that is something that has made such a difference for me. Okay, the third habit that's been really life-changing for me is prioritizing my marriage and my family above everything else. This is something that really started for me a year ago when I was going through the process of planning my wedding. I had to make a lot of hard decisions and choose between different people, stuck to my guns, and I was very clear on prioritizing what Zach and I needed as well as our family's role in our wedding and in our lives moving forward. That's something that has had such a lasting positive impact on our relationship and our lives. I really am so thankful to have the family that I have, both the one I was born into and the one I married into. I do not take for granted the fact that I both love and like all of my family members, and they're just some of my favorite people. We were visiting my in-laws last week and genuinely just had like hours of conversations about life and marriage and the church and faith and so many things, and it was so fulfilling and restorative and stimulating, and I'm just so grateful for that. This has also looked like turning down things with friends when I know that I need to show up in my marriage, and my first and strongest commitment is to my husband. Like, he is my partner and my teammate in life. My friendships are very important to me, and investing in those is very important to me, but not at the expense of my relationship with Zach. Okay, the fourth habit that has been insanely game-changing is cycle syncing. If you know, you know. This is something I'm actually really actively working on doing right now. If you're interested in hearing more about that, you can watch my 12-week walkthrough series. I am breaking down the whole process and going through exactly what I'm doing each week to care for my body and support it in its different phases. Cycle syncing is really just this process of being in tune with what's happening in your body and working with it rather than against it. If you're interested at all, I highly recommend checking out the book Woman Code by Elisa Vitti. I read it at the start of this year. Changed my life. It's such a good introduction to really what this is and how to do it effectively, and just like opened my eyes to so much. Okay, number 5, this has been huge. Developing a fitness routine that wasn't what I saw online. For years, I have set myself the goal of building a consistent workout routine, consistently going to the gym, finding a workout routine that works for me. And the intentions were good, but every year in an attempt to do this, I've gone on the internet and typed in my workout routine and watched YouTube videos or TikTok videos or Instagram clips of fitness models and influencers taking me, someone who is not athletically gifted, through their workout routine after years of exploring and trying new things and figuring out what really worked for them. I honestly don't know why I thought this was a great idea, but it wasn't helpful. This year, I kind of put all of that aside and really leaned into the idea of just like intuitive working out, really just going with what my body felt up to. On days when I feel like running, I will go to the gym and run, and on days when I feel like just going for a walk or doing some stretching, I will do that. Or if I feel like doing some strength training, I'll go to the gym and do that. Mind you, the consistency here is very new. Like, we're talking the last month. But so far, it's felt so good. I am actually training for 5K right now. That's the only thing I'm really pushing myself on at the moment, and that in like 2 weeks. I'm so excited. And on that note, the next healthy habit that I did is something I wish I had done years ago, and that was unfollowing fitness influencers and any accounts on social media that made me feel bad about myself or my life. I can't tell you how many years I have followed certain people who I just don't like. It's not anything that someone is doing wrong, it's just that they might post something that I'm sensitive about, or that's a trigger for me, or for whatever reason, I just don't vibe with their personality. And for so many years, I didn't just click the unfollow button. I would get irritated or annoyed or angry, and I'd scroll through and read the comments and look at their posts, and it added nothing to my life. It just made me feel cranky, so I unfollowed a lot of those people, and I unfollowed all of the fitness influencers that I followed. Now, there's nothing wrong with being a fitness influencer. I'm not anti-fitness influencer, but for me, I just felt like I was comparing myself constantly to what these girls were accomplishing at the gym or what they looked like. We were not in the same place, and it wasn't motivating for me. It was discouraging. So I unfollowed, and maybe there will be a point in my life where that will be helpful, but honestly, I have never found fitness influencers to be a super healthy thing for me personally. Not common for you if you're a fitness influencer. You do your thing. I'm sure that it's so inspiring for a lot of people. I'm just not one of them. The next healthy habit has really surprised me and how much of an impact it's had, and that's been not always having something on in the background. So I'm definitely someone who, if I'm doing household chores or getting work done or cooking dinner, I really like having something on in the background, whether that's a show, podcast, audiobook, music, whatever. Wasn't really super comfortable with being in silent spaces. It just was not normal for me. It felt really weird to try and start that. But in preventing myself from sitting in silence, I was missing out on a lot of time just spent reflecting and praying, getting clarity with myself about where I was at and how I was feeling. I really deprived myself of a lot of personal development and health. I'm not really cool with that. Making this shift has been drastic. There's no problem with having something on in the background, but there was almost no space in my life where I was actively just sitting in stillness. The biggest area where that really took a hit was spiritually for me, because that's often when I find I talk to God and just feel close to the Lord. And so removing noise from those little moments in my life has been really cool to just let myself be more present and kind of see what happens. I don't do it every time. I still have things on in the background sometimes. I try and check in with myself before I put something on of like, okay, well, when was the last time I just sat in stillness and quiet and let myself be? Existed without dopamine coming at me every 10 seconds. It's been really, really good. The next habit that has been so huge for me in my marriage and also my friendships, and that is asking the question, do you want support or do you want solutions? This is something that Zach actually started doing, and I cannot tell you how effective it's been and how helpful it's been in conversations with people, because there are times where I will have a friend come to me or Zach will come to me and say, hey, this is what's going on, and I don't know, do you want me to come in and say, well, here's what you should do, or do you want me to come in and just say, that really sucks, I'm so sorry? Those are two very different needs, and particularly in our marriage, it's given us the vocabulary to ask for what we need from the other person without having to break it down. Having that rule exist makes it feel less intimidating and vulnerable. We know that we have that space, and I know that Zach will ask me if I don't tell him, do you want support or do you want solutions? So if I know that I need one or the other, I'll start by saying, hey, I'm gonna vent, I really need solutions on this because I don't know what to do. Or hey, I'm gonna vent, I really need support, I know what to do here, but this is just really hard and stressful, or whatever it is. The same has been true in friendships. Number 9 is learning to let go. I had a conversation with my therapist a few weeks ago where I was talking to her about a particular situation in my life where something that had once been a big part of it, I now felt like I had to work double time to just keep afloat. She's basically making the point that I have been not only in therapy, but just growing a lot over the last couple of years. And I've really changed my boundaries and what I tolerate as a person and what I look for in relationships, what I value in my life, where I'm willing to spend my time and invest my energy. And it is an inevitable consequence of growth that things that you once loved in a less healthy state will no longer fit naturally or comfortably into your new life. Those things will start to cause friction, and keeping them as a key part of your life is not going to feel comfortable because you're not the same person anymore. And that's been hard for me to come to terms with, because I like routine, I like predictability. I am learning to let go, and that if I'm feeling like it's not healthy or possible, or it doesn't make sense to keep something as a part of my life, just kind of releasing my grip on it and not ending it, not throwing it out of my life, but just opening my hand a little bit so that if it falls away, if it doesn't fit, that's okay. And I'm not fighting that uphill battle to try and make something work that's no longer a healthy thing for me. Okay, finally, number 10, the last healthy habit that I have changed in my life this year is also very people focused. And I'm basically changing the entire way that I interact with people, which has been weird. A couple months ago, I read the book Everybody Always by Bob Goff, which I honestly can't recommend enough. It's incredibly powerful, wrecked me in the best way. Since convinced like 4 people in my life to read it, and I really think that you should too, especially if you're looking to build community or interact with people in a more meaningful way. It is a Christian book, but I also think that a lot of people would enjoy it, even if you're not Christian, particularly if you're curious about like what the Bible actually says about how to treat people and how to love one another. This is a really good book to read. The heart of this book, and the big thing that I took away, is it's enough to just show up and love people in authentic, meaningful ways. You don't have to show up and share all your opinions. You don't have to show up and convince somebody that you're right. You don't have to show up and tell them everything that you believe and why you believe it. You can just show up and love people. That's enough. One of the lines that stuck out to me the most in the book was, I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember exactly what it is, and I loaned my copy to my mom. Something along the lines of, it's enough to just love people well and trust God to bring beautiful things into their life without you. And I hope that made sense. These healthy habits are all things that have genuinely altered so much of my everyday and just my outlook on life and who I am and who I'm becoming as a person. And they're so powerful. I feel like I've come so far since January, and I'm really excited to see where I'm at by the end of the year and next year. And I just think I'm entering such a fun phase of growth in all areas of my life. I'm particularly excited about some of the health and wellness changes that I'm making. I'm going to be documenting my wellness journey more over on my Instagram and sharing lots, of course, in my 12-week walkthrough series. I'm doing weekly vlogs every week for 12 weeks because I'm doing a 12-week year with certain goals I'm trying to hit, and it's just been so fun to bring you guys along, and I'm really, really excited. I would love to know what one healthy habit that's changed your life is. If there's anything that stuck out to you in this video, if there's anything we have in common, or if you disagree with anything, you've had a different experience, would love to hear about it. I really, really appreciate you guys being here. You mean the world to me, and I'm just so grateful that I get to keep bringing you guys content. I hope you have a good day, because today is a good day to have a good day, and that's it. Bye.